Okay, hey everybody, we are going to go over the review sheet for our test tomorrow. Please join us and follow along. Fill out your review sheet as we fill it out with you. And we'll throw in some fun tidbits to help clarify a few things and remind you of some worksheets you should be looking at. So we're going to start over here with the important people. All right. Now, pilgrims, this is a generic term that means anyone who leaves a country for religious reasons. So a Puritan is a type of pilgrim. A Puritan is a specific type of pilgrim. A Quaker is another type of pilgrim. So a Quaker is a pilgrim who ended up in Pennsylvania. And they have a specific religion. They follow the Quaker religion. But what you need to know right now is they're going to end up in Pennsylvania. So just to give you a visual understanding of that, so if you think of pilgrim as an umbrella, okay, so this is pilgrims. And it's an umbrella term, and everything underneath it is that. Quakers are pilgrims, Puritans are pilgrims, okay? Even Catholics from England are pilgrims because they leave England because of religious persecution. So these are all coming to the New World to form colonies for freedom of religion. Okay. And we have a couple people, we didn't really talk about these, so I would not expect to see them on the test. But they are good information to have. Later in the year when we're going back to these for star review, you'll want to know these individuals. So let's talk about the growth of representative government in the New World. The first way that it grew was when we had the House of Burgesses in Virginia. And remember, Burgesses is one of our vocabulary words. It means representative. Okay. And then we also had the Mayflower Compact in Massachusetts. And then 3 is a spoiler alert, so we're going to cross that one out. We're going to get to that later. So we see the beginnings of representative government. That word representative, very important. You need to know that representative means that you elect people to make your decisions for you. So we have it in the House of Burgesses. We have it in the Mayflower Compact. This is the beginning of democracy in America. Important dates. We told you these are your hot dates. Need to know, must remember. Jamestown. Okay, and it's important because it's the first permanent settlement. Now you need to, Jamestown, that's what your memorization thing is. Jamestown, first permanent settlement, 1607. But don't forget that that's also connected to the House of Burgesses. Okay, that's also connected to the House of Burgesses. 1620, we have Plymouth. This is the story you all know and love, where you got to act out your little pilgrim plays in kindergarten. The Pilgrims come, and the big other thing to know is your Mayflower Compact with that. So 1620 is the Mayflower Compact. Okay, so it gets a little confusing because you have Pilgrims landing at Plymouth and you have Mayflower, but you've got to tie that all together to 1620. All right, here we go. Geographic barrier. This is our vocabulary from these worksheets that you've seen already. So geographic barrier. One of the first geographic barriers we talked about is the Appalachian Mountains. On your European exploration map worksheet, you will see how the Appalachian Mountains form the western boundary of England's colonies in the United States. So they're very important because they're the first geographic barrier that England runs into. And it keeps them over there by the Atlantic Ocean. Okay, next let's go to region. A region is just an area with shared characteristics. So for instance, we talk about the Atlantic coastal plains have rocky soil and natural harbors. Rocky soil bad, natural harbor good. Guys, I have said rocky soil, Atlantic coastal plains so many times, I think they're going to put it on my tombstone. Atlantic coastal plain, rocky soil. Great Plains are great for growing. That's where we grow all our wheat. The Gulf Coast, think like a golf course, green and growing, lots of oil. Rocky Mountains, obviously those are mountains. They're very tall. They're cold. If you get stuck up there, you might freeze to death. Intermountain, that's deserts. Okay, and we'll get into all that later, sorry, but those are the regions. All right, intolerance, lack of tolerance for other people, okay? This is what we're looking at in England with the religions. So we go back to this, like the Pilgrims are facing intolerance, so they want to leave. The Pilgrims are facing intolerance, so they want to leave. A cash crop is a farm crop raised to be sold for money. Our best one of this is tobacco. And obviously tobacco is being grown in Jamestown. So it's all coming full circle. It's all connecting. Okay? Tobacco is being grown in Jamestown. They're growing it to make money. Charter. That is the permission slip from the king to start a colony or to do anything with land in the New World. To use land in the New World. There we go. That's the right phrase, Miss Marshall. To settle in the New World. Sometimes my words don't work so good. So it's the permission slip from the king to settle in the New World. Okay, remember, technically the king owns everything. So you have to get permission from him to use it. That's why they name everything after him. They're all like, let us go settle here. We'll name it after you, okay? They're buttering him up. Triangular trade. This is on our mercantilism worksheet. So we drew that image of the goods leaving England and leaving the colonies and going to Africa and the West Indies. Triangle trade, that's all those trade routes. That's the basis of mercantilism. Triangle trade makes mercantilism work. Triangle trade makes mercantilism work. Next we have persecution. Persecution is when you treat somebody badly, harshly, because of their beliefs or practices. So we see the relation between persecution and intolerance. If you're intolerant to someone, you are going to persecute them. And you guys, the persecution being faced by the Puritans in England are not little persecutions. They're being thrown in jail, they're being hanged. So they're facing heavy persecution. Okay, then we have a compact. A compact is just an agreement between people, and specifically it's about governing for us. We use it to specifically talk about governing, but an agreement between people. Okay, nationalism, loyalty to one's nation. Okay, pride in your nation. So you're proud to be an American, you have nationalism. Mercantilism. Okay, well, she writes the definition. I'm going to give you a little visual reminder of mercantilism over here. Okay, you brought in the ingredients for Chex Mix. We took those individual agreements, shipped them to the CCIS room, made the trail mix, shipped them back, and sold them to you. That is mercantilism.
Will Morgan Crockett please come to the front office, please? Morgan Crockett, please come to the front office.
And that's what happens when you video at school. Okay, so it's an economic theory that benefited England. They got the raw materials, and then they turned it into something, and they sold it back to the colonies. It's a way for England to make money off of the colonies. And you have that worksheet, okay, and manufactured goods specifically. So they wouldn't just say like, they sent them, the colonies sent England wood, they manufactured that into tables. The colonies sent them cotton, they manufactured that into fabric. All right, you sent us pretzels and M&Ms, we manufactured that into trail mix. Burgesses. Burgesses is a big fancy British word, just means representatives. Yes, one of the things I love is that the House of Burgesses really just means the House of Representatives. That's our government system that we have today. So Burgesses means representatives. Debts or debtors. Debts mean you owe somebody money. And the debtor is the person who owes the money. So a debtor is someone that owes money. Okay. There were a lot of poor people in England, and they would borrow money. And then when they couldn't pay the money back, they'd be shipped off to the Americas to work off their debt. Okay? Or they would run away to the Americas to escape their debt so that the people they owed money to couldn't find them. Okay, so you can think of England like the mafia. If you borrow money from the mafia, you're going to have to hide because they're going to come after you if you don't pay them their money. Dissent. Dissent is to disagree. For instance, when we were doing our Chex Mix activity, many of you dissented against our new policy of not selling snacks in the cafeteria. So you disagreed verbally, out loud. You're very good at it. Joint stock company. This is a business that sells shares to investors. And then when the business makes money, the investors get a profit. So we think of this as how most companies work today. If I want to buy shares in Walmart, then when Walmart makes a profit, I get a bit of the money back. You can think about Shark Tank, okay, and how they go before those people and they say, this is my idea. If you give me money, I'm going to give you this much profit back. Same thing. Joint stock company is super important, you guys, okay? You need to know joint stock company. Free enterprise. Free enterprise is business that operates without the government interfering. So in England, the king would often just sort of take over things and try to make money off of the businesses. Or the king would make laws that said things like, oh, colonies, you can't sell that wood to Spain and France. That's not free enterprise. Free enterprise is you can sell to whoever wants to pay. All right, proprietary colony. A proprietary colony, and Ms. Marshall, correct me if I'm not saying this well, but a proprietary colony is a colony that's left up to governing themselves.
Yes.
So they're left up to governing themselves. They're kind of just being left to their own devices. So like Jamestown at first is a proprietary colony. They're just ruling themselves. They create the House of Burgesses. The joint stock company is running them. And then later, in 1624, the king revokes the charter and the king takes over. They're not a proprietary colony at that point. Okay, so proprietary is when the king leaves them alone and they can do their own thing. Pacifist. This is a person who doesn't like violence. It's a person who doesn't like violence. Okay, think of a hippie, you know, the peace sign. Ooh, okay. They like peace. All right, let's flip to the back. All right, up here we have our regions. And you got this little teeny tiny map. And you can practice making the little regions on the map. We'll come back and do that in a minute. First, let's look at the different regions. So we have the Pacific Coastal Plains. Okay. And this is going, just so we know, this list is going west to east. So this is west, this is east. Okay. So Pacific Coastal Plains. Rainy, good growing. And the Pacific Coastal Plains are very different in the north and in the south, but if you know they have a good growing season, that's pretty much the biggest thing you need to know. So they have a good growing season, so you can grow plants there a lot. Okay, and we'll draw that in. You want to draw that in? You want me to draw it? You got it? Okay, I'll draw it. We're just freehanding this, so don't judge us. All right, I'm freehanding it while holding the phone. It's fun. All right. Then we have the Rocky Mountains. You guys, those are mountains. Okay, I mean, literally like
mountains.
Steep mountains. Yes, they're pointy looking when you look at them. These are the mountains that they are so hard to cross that for 200 years, if you wanted to go from the East Coast to the West Coast, you got on a boat and went all the way around South America.
Yeah.
It was faster and it was safer because those mountains, you can die in those mountains. It's very dangerous. Okay, so we're gonna have the Rocky Mountains. They're gonna come in. They're actually a little bit separated because we got the. So this is the Rocky Mountains. This is not great. So this is the Rocky Mountains. They come down a little farther than that. That's the Rocky Mountains right there. Okay. Then we have our intermountain region. You guys, it's deserts. Somebody asked me, well, what kind of natural resources they have? Well, they got desert plants. They got wind. If you go, you'll see a lot of windmills. But you guys, they don't have much resources, okay? It's a desert. And
Dry.
Yeah, very dry. Very dry. I'm going to draw a little cactus right here. See if I can draw a cactus.
Grand Canyon.
Has the Grand Canyon, yeah. Las Vegas. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Okay, interior plains, we call them the Great Plains because they're pretty awesome. That's where we grow most of our food. It's flat. It's the breadbasket. We grow most of our food here. And it takes up a huge portion of the center of the United States. It takes up like a third of the U.S. It's my little wheat plants here. All right, it comes here. Oh, it's huge. It takes up a third of the U.S., okay? So if you see a big number in the middle in the test, that's the Great Plains. Then we have the Appalachian Mountains. Those are less pointy mountains, but they're still pretty rocky and rough. Okay, it was the first barrier. It's the edge of the English colonies. Rocky, rough. They have some like mining, a little bit of mining for like coal especially. Coal's a big one. And they are over here. And we're going to go like this. There's more mountains. Draw my little mountains. They kind of go over here too. All right, there we go. And they're there. And then the Gulf Coastal Plains is where we live. Okay. It should be the one you're most familiar with. We've got oil, swamps. We've got fertile soil. Thank you. Fertile soil, so we can grow stuff.
Piney woods.
Piney woods. Nacogdoches. That's where I went to high school. That's where I went to college.
I went there too.
All right, and it's going to be over here. We kind of draw this line right here, okay? So Gulf Coast. I'm going to draw like a little. This is supposed to be an oil rig. It's not great, but that's my oil rig right there, okay? And that leaves us with the Atlantic Coastal Plains. Okay, the Atlantic Coastal Plains. Infertile soil. Infertile soil. It's rocky soil. Hard, rocky soil. Okay, but they have a lot of fishing. Lots of natural harbors. And whale oil, which means you get to say whale oil. Oh, and lumber. Lumber, such a big thing, lumber. All right. Now we're going to cut out a couple of these because we don't need them. We don't need Magna Carta yet. Okay? We don't need Fundamental Orders of Connecticut yet. We don't need English Bill of Rights yet. So we're going to focus on Mayflower Compact and House of Burgesses. So House of Burgesses, it's Jamestown. It's a representative government. Okay, that word representative. We told y'all today, that's a star word. And it's the first representative government, so it's a huge deal. The first one ever in the entire world. And then the Mayflower Compact is in Massachusetts, in Plymouth. The Pilgrims come up with the Mayflower Compact, and again, it's representative, it's democratic. They're leaving England to try to have a new type of leadership. They want a different religion, they want a different type of leadership, they know what they're doing, they make a plan. Okay, before they ever get off the boat, they decide to do this. And we'll come back to the other three later this year. All right, and then we have our reasons for colonization, and you can see this is already filled in.
Will Gunner Herring please come to the front office, please? Gunner Herring, please come to the front office.
Okay, and we've got, you need to make sure you understand, because I know a lot of you on your European exploration chart just wrote glory, God, and gold for all three countries. You've got to make sure you understand that that looks different for each one. France, they want nationalism, they got pride, they do have some missionaries, and then the fur trade. France, friends, fur. All start with F. France is friends with the Native Americans, and they trade fur. England, they want the land and the natural resources. They want religious freedom. They have some nationalism and pride. And they're on again, off again with the Native Americans, like Mean Girls. On again, off again. And then Spain, okay, they wanted, this is the traditional glory, God, and gold. They want to spread their religion. They want to get gold. It's the 3 Gs. And we talked about Spain slaughters the Native Americans. Spain slaughters. So France, friends, England, Mean Girls, Spain slaughters. All right. And here you can see the 13 original colonies. That is not a huge deal right now, so we're just going to kind of scoot over to the right here. All right. And then you see the 3 different ones, and you kind of see how we're talking about the Atlantic coastal plains. These 2 things are going to be on your next test. So don't sketch them out. Don't do anything to them. Leave them, because we're going to come back to it for our next test, which is in 2 weeks. So it's not very long. So some great questions. You need to do this on your own. Can I compare different regions to each other in terms of geography, climate, and resources? Regions, these things up here. Okay? And then can I compare the new, and that's for next test. So put a star by that one, put a pin in it. We're going to do that later. So you need to be able to do this. This is very important. You need to understand Jamestown. You need to understand Mayflower Compact. You need to understand 1607 and 1620, and you need to know these vocabulary words. All right. Make sure you study. Have a great night. We will see you tomorrow.